Soften up the mess, drop it in the water, let the daughter find her image with the rest. She'll be learning how to breathe, spinning through identity, revealing. Welcome back to another chit chat video. I am super excited for this video, but before we hop into this video, my name is Lamikiona. I create a lot of content surrounding around my faith journey. I am just a woman who is after God's heart, who is truly just seeking God and all that he has for not only my life, for the individuals he has called me to speak to, and just encourage through my testimony, through the things that God has told me that he wants me to speak, and keeping the things that he wants me to hold dear to my heart. And I just feel like on this journey it can be I don't know how to explain it. It can have its trials, it can have its good times, it can have its bad times. But what I'm learning is to learn how to suffer well. And that's been something that's been truly heavy on my heart to speak about. And through these chit chat videos, I just want to speak to those who are struggling, who love God but struggle with, God, I don't hear you. God, I don't feel you. God, I don't know where you are. In those silent moments where God is not speaking, but he's speaking. And those moments can be so daunting because you want to hear him. You want to hear from him. You want to hear his voice. And through your suffering, you're just like, God, I want to hear you right now. And you don't. And those are the things that we don't talk about. When God is silent, and we want to hear from him. When God doesn't speak, but he's speaking. Because we want to hear him out loud. But sometimes his biggest teacher is through silence. And I can tell you through my own experience, through my own testimony of God not speaking, but speaking at the same time. So I want to share a testimony of something that I experienced through God teaching me through silence. And I pray that you hear my heart and that this gives you a level of compassion and empathy. And I don't mean empathy in a negative way, but I mean it in your own life and how you are experiencing silence from God, but you want to hear from him so bad. You want him to tell you exactly what to do, and you feel like he's not talking to you, and you feel like that he's not telling you what you need to know, but he's telling you everything you need to know. And I want to tell you about my testimony about a time where I was experienced like, God, I want to hear from you. I desire to hear from you, and I wasn't hearing a thing. I wasn't hearing nothing, and that is hard, because you want God to continuously speak to you, but through that you also understand that he's always speaking when you listen. And sometimes his silence is the answer. His silence is the answer, and that's hard to swallow because you expect that God is this God who always tells you everything, who always guides you, who always does this and that. But realistically, no, not at all. So let's talk about my testimony of a time that I experienced God speaking in silence, but I wanted to hear his voice for him to tell me exactly what to do. So for the past year, I had been teaching high school, and it was ninth grade, and this was around the time that I experienced loss, and I thought this was like the ultimate suffering, but it really wasn't. And I talk about this a lot, but it really was a significant part in my journey with God, because I consider myself before lukewarm, but really after this experience I no longer became lukewarm. I really was after God's heart. Like, I literally used to be on the fence, but now I'm like, no, I don't play about God. And I'm not to say that I did play about God before, but I don't play about God now. Like, for real. I really be in my word. I really be praying. I really be talking to God. I really be fasting. And that was something that I wasn't doing before. So after the fire, I was experiencing a lot of emotional and emotional distress, emotional loss, emotional, just so many different emotions, right? And I was grieving as well. I was grieving a lot. Like, my birthday was maybe like 2 weeks after that happened, and I didn't really celebrate my birthday. Yes, I had like a get together or whatever, but after that I was just like, okay, cool. And I feel like it's kind of feeling that same way again, and my birthday is coming up again, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's like I've been feeling like I don't want to do anything, and that's just being real. But again, to go back to the testimony of my story, like I said, I was teaching and everything, but my mind, I battled with a lot in my mind. And it was really more so just everything that was happening so fast. Everything was just going at a rapid pace. And I remember when God spoke to me about this being my last year of teaching. I said I was going to do 3 years of teaching. God was like, no, this your last year. And I'm like, okay. So this was around January when God had been telling me in maybe November, and we still had the whole school year. God was telling me that, this would be my last year. And I remember making the full decision in January, because we were receiving like the letter of intent if you wanted to come back or not. And I signed that I wanted to resign. And I was thinking to myself, you walking away from a secure job to do what? You're walking away from a secure job to do what? And that was my mind in January. That was my mind in like November, January, I'm like, I'm walking away from a secure job to do what exactly? And I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. Like, I was like, I trust you. Especially after my experience last year, I'm like, something gotta give. I'm literally, and this is just being honest and transparent. I'm like, something gotta give. Something gotta give, because I'm fighting for my life with my mind. I am literally fighting for my life with my mind. Like, for real. Battling daily. And I didn't understand what it was until my pastor talked about it at church, and I was like, oh, I get it now. But during the time, I didn't get it at all. I'm like, okay. So I signed off that I was not going to be returning. And I'm like, I'm praying. I'm like, okay, so what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. What do you want me to do? I'm talking about, y'all, I'm praying consistently. I'm talking about I'm getting on my knees. I'm fasting, everything. No answer. I'm talking about none. No answer. And I'm like, God, it's now February. So it's now February, and I'm like, okay, God, I signed off on this in January. And again, I'm kind of rushing the process. I'm like, okay, God, well, you ain't told me nothing, so what am I going to do? And again, at the same time, I was believing in crazy faith, because I signed in January that I was resigning. And I'm like, normally the contracts come out as a teacher, they normally come out in March. And usually between that January, February time is like the time where you can decide whether you want to stay or not. And in January, I was already like, I'm out of here. And people would be asking me like, hey, are you staying next year? And I'm like, no. They're like, what you gonna do? I don't know. You don't know? No, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I was literally talking to my friend, and I was telling her, And I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I ain't going back. And she like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back. So she was like, what you gonna do next? I'm like, I don't know. I really genuinely don't know. Y'all, when I say I did not know what I was doing next, I was like, I don't know. And this is what I mean by you asking God to give you the answers, but then you're like, I don't know. And I was just like, God, I don't know what's next. So I think maybe around February, right around the time where we were doing the Dear Wise Woman, excuse me, right around the time we were doing the Dear Wise Woman series, is when I started to hear God more. But it wasn't about that. It wasn't about what I was doing next. It was nothing to do about what I was doing next. It was just, ministry and things like that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool and all. And I'm like, ministry, I don't know. I don't feel equipped. Like, I'm like, you want me to speak to people with my past? Like, with my past, and this before I even read about Paul. This, of course, I've heard about Paul. Of course, I've, heard different stories about Paul, but I ain't read it for myself. I hadn't read it for myself. So this was around February. I had just started reading my Bible, aiming to read the entire Bible, and I'm like 50, maybe like 55, 60% now. And this is July. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, God, this is like the middle of February. And I'm like, I think I went to Dallas. Yeah, I went to Dallas in February because I go on a trip every February by myself. I do a solo trip every year. I started that tradition last year, and this is my second year going on my solo trip in February. I get back from my trip, and I kept passing like coffee shops, the environment, like and I went to this thing called Prayer Pilates. I don't know if y'all heard about that in Dallas, Texas, but I went to the Prayers Pilates, and I was like, this is so dope. Like, I was in there like, this is so dope. Like, to be praying and doing Pilates, like, y'all, I was amazed, right? After that, I had the desires to go to a coffee shop. So I went to a coffee shop, and I'm like, oh, it's so cute in here. This is so vibrant. And then I'm like, I started putting two and two together. I'm like, what if I had a coffee shop? And I'm like, a coffee shop? Okay, so what kind of coffee shop you want? And then it was just like God started pouring it on me. I'm talking about an overflow. I was like, oh, okay, so you want me to do a Christian coffee shop? Okay, sure. And I'm really, y'all, this is my real reaction. I'm like, a Christian coffee shop? Okay, sure. Like, this is my favorite expression. This is my favorite expression as he's telling me this. And I'm like, okay, God, cool. So I get the brainstorming. I get back from my trip to Dallas, and I remember I started, right when I got back to work, I had started coming up with names. I'm like, okay, I'm looking through names. I'm asking ChatGPT to help me with some names, right? And it started generating names, and then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I think the initial one I had that was brainstorming in my brain was like, She Loves God. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. She loves God. And then something just told me to ask my sister about it. And she was like, I love that. I didn't really tell her what I was doing, but I was asking her about her opinion on the name, and she was just saying that she think I should do it more versatile. And I'm like, okay, versatile, okay, versatility. So I'm over there thinking, rethinking names. I'm generating names, and then I'm going through ChatGPT, and we're like generating names together. And the Well Coffee Shop popped out. And I'm like, the Well Coffee Shop. The Well Coffee Shop. That sounds amazing. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the name right there. That's the name right there. But then I'm like, but I want a message behind it. I don't want it to just be, the Well Coffee Shop. I want it to have a meaning. So then, along the lines, it was talking about John 4. And back like 2 years prior, me and my sister were doing a Bible study, and John 4, I'm talking about, had me stuck like Chuck. Like when I say I loved John 4, like I wanted to read John 4 all the time. Like I still would read John 4 all the time, but John 4 really stuck out to me 2 years ago. And when I was reading back on John 4, and it talked about the woman at the well and Jesus, comforting her and telling her to sin no more and meeting her where she was at. And I was like, God met me where I was at. God met me where I was at. God met me exactly where I was at in my life. And before, again, I was like, I cannot hear God's voice. I want to hear it so bad. But then he just started speaking in overflow and overflow. And I think everything just started pouring. And I was like trying to process it. I'm like, okay, God. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really a coffee girl, but I love like juicing. I love, baking. I'm a baker. Like I love baking. I used to hate cooking, but I love cooking now. Like I love cooking, but I really love baking. Like baking just always been something about baking that just had me chef's kiss, right? And then I started coming up with the menu, and Proverbs Punch started coming out to me, and like it was just an overflow about the recipes and the names, the manna loaf, the Bethlehem bagel, all of these things were just flowing, y'all. Like when I say flowing, and again, I'm using Chat GPT as a resource, but I'm not using it as my anchor. I'm just using it as a resource to help me like generate my ideas, because I'm a visionary, but it comes with like the written part. I'm more like the visual that can be like, hey, this, that, and third. But when it comes to the process and everything on writing, I be having a brain fart, like. But I use it as a resource. So I just want to be, transparent that I was using that as a resource. But when I say I'm talking about speaking. And I knew I was serious about it when I started investing in it. Because one thing about it, you can get a word from God, or you can believe you got a word from God and put no action behind it. But me, when I started putting action behind it and money behind it, I was like, oh, I'm for real. And God is for real. And God is serious about this. And then we transitioned into months later, having our first pop-up shop, having a really good, reaction from people, talking about how good the food is, how good the drinks are, and things like that. I'm just like in awe, y'all. Like when I say in awe, and I say all that to say that sometimes God is speaking to you and you don't even realize it when you're not paying attention. I bought, and to add to all of this, when I first got into my apartment that I'm in now, I for some reason had bought a coffee cart months ago. Like probably around that November time, I had bought a coffee bar and a coffee cart in my corner that I wasn't even really using. It had all the coffee stuff that I needed. It had everything on there, my matcha, everything, but I wasn't really using it. And that was last year. To now using it all the time. Like when I say I use that coffee cart so many times, but it went from not using it, not knowing what his real purpose was, to having a purpose. And God was having that answer right in front of me. I literally walk in my kitchen every day and see it. But again, we think God is not speaking when he has it all around us. Like, he has it all around us. I always admire the atmosphere, the way that you'll be able to be creative in a coffee shop, the way it makes you feel, the way you want to walk out. And when the words of come, drink, and be filled being the slogan of the Well Coffee Shop, I'm just like, it all aligns, because I always wanted to bring a welcoming spirit. I want people to be like, to drink, to come and drink, just like the woman at the well, where she came, she drunk, because remember, he was trying to provide her with everlasting water, and he did, and was filled. So when she walked away, she was renewed, restored. She was renewed in strength by Jesus. And I want to bring that kind of feeling to people, because it's not even about me. It's not about me. This story is not about me. This story is about the glory of God putting his hand all around it. His glory being all around this circumstance, through all this situation. So I don't want you to take away that it was about me. It wasn't about me. It was about God. It was about how God's kindness and his graciousness, and even though we think he's not speaking, he is always speaking. And he is so kind and gentle. And that even though we feel that sometimes he's not giving us all the answers, he's already giving you the answers, the resources, the way. Like, he's already paved the way. He's already paved the way. So what I want you to remember is, when you think that God is not speaking, look around you and start to see how God is already speaking through the things that are already around you. Those resources, those things that are sitting, looking at you daily, and you're not even paying attention that they're already the answer. He's always speaking. I pray that this chit chat encouraged you. I pray that this was just such an enlightenment to God's kindness and how he speaks even when he's not speaking. And that when you think God is not there, draw near to him, and he's going to draw even nearer to you. I pray that this message encouraged you. I pray that this was a good chit chat. I pray that this just helped you through my testimony to showcase God's glory in that, because it's not about me. Again, it's not about me. It's about God's glory and how he is so persistent, and how encouraging he is through the small things, in the ways that he wants to show you big things and bigger things than you could ever ask, think, or imagine. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you stay tuned to more videos. Please, please, please stay encouraged in God, because he loves you and he cares about you. Y'all stay blessed. I love you, God. God loves you. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.